Right, so this is a short version of my experience on the 27th and 28th of May with Bufo. First with ayahuasca, very strong ayahuasca, and then Bufo Alvarius the next day. Now, I wouldn't do it again in this order, okay? And I've since read an article that says it might be dangerous to do that. Now, however, if you do sapito with Bufo Alvarius first, wait an hour or two or more, and then do ayahuasca, there seems to be no problem with that. And I certainly would have no fear doing that. And that's what I'm going to be doing again in a few weeks. However, doing the ayahuasca first, not throwing it up like what happened to me, and still having it in your system, very strong ayahuasca in a strong dose, and then doing Bufo Alvarius, wow, it's a very strong experience. And 10 days later, today is the 6th of June 2017, okay, like 10 days later, I can still pretty much feel it sometimes, a bit as if I had still a very, very light, like remnants of LSD in my arms or something, or DMT or whatever, and I can still feel it. My meditating is very powerful, very quickly still, which is great. But for up until about yesterday or 2 days ago, I had this really strong feeling in my brain as you do after ayahuasca, but normally you just have it for a day or two, maybe 3 days or so. Uh, and here I've been having it for like 8 days, 10 days, and I thought, fuck, I don't know if this feeling is gonna go away. Uh, it looks like it does go away. It just takes a really long time when you've had such a strong dose. So if you're gonna do the two, I would really recommend, from my very slim experience, that you do it the other way around. Do the toad first, and then wait a few hours, and then do the Bufo Alvarius, the ayahuasca. Sorry. Okay, so it was this very thick ayahuasca, almost cream. Normally, 25 centiliters of this stuff is enough. I took 30 the first time and then 30 again because I wasn't going in. I wasn't going in because I got lazy. I I convinced myself I'm not going to do ayahuasca, but really I wanted to. And so I was hungry, so I ate. I had this massive coffee. I mean, I did the things that I wanted to do instead of doing the preparation and making the necessary sacrifices, which are essentially to just go hungry for a few hours, and not drink anything if you can. Just try to, wet your throat with some water and that's it. And just don't drink anything all day. Um, so I couldn't get into the experience because of the food and the coffee and so on. I took it at 2 in the morning, and the next day, like at 6 p.m., like 16 hours later, I was still feeling it. I was still pretty much nauseous. Uh, and that's when I smoked the Bufo Alvarius, and boom, was my experience strong. Now up to then, I'd had the same experiences over again around judgment and unconditional love and not expressing enough love to people and stuff. And I thought to myself, well, why the fuck am I having the same experience over and over again? Uh, um, it must mean that I haven't learned my lesson. And I was like, I'm tired of that. I'm really tired of that. I want to move forward. I want to move on. I want to give myself something better. I'm tired of this shit. You know, I don't want judgment. And so I came to that realization just before doing the toad. And and so I don't think it's a coincidence that this time, boom, I sort of went past that. And I went to a place of acceptance. And I think now I think I realize that acceptance is the proper word for love. Love, unconditional love, which is real love, is acceptance. That's really what it is. Acceptance of everything the way it is. Acceptance of others, but first and foremost, acceptance of yourself. And that's something we really have a lot of trouble with, isn't it? Especially me, fucking hell. And so what happened is, and also it's acceptance of everything that constitutes your life, and that's also death. You have to understand that your life exists only because there is also this thing that we call death. You cannot have one without the other. Because it's not really death, probably. It looks like this is more some sort of simulation and that there's nothing. Actually, there is nothing. However, you cannot go about your life as though they're worth nothing. Why? Because it's like being in a video game. Let's say you're playing a video game, right? Call of Duty or whatever it is, and you know it's not real. You know it's just this thing inside your mind, and it's some pixels of light on a screen, and it's not real. It's just a simulation, and the moment you click exit, boom, the thing's over. But within the simulation, you still have to go by the rules of the simulation. Within Call of Duty or Need for Speed, you still need to behave within the rules of that environment. And it's the same in life. And life, even if it is a simulation, it's sort of irrelevant because it's all you've got. It's all you've got. And you have to go by the rules of this. You cannot think that wall is a simulation and I'm going to smash right through it with your fist, because you're going to fucking smash your hand. Now, some might argue that if you manage to believe it strong enough, like completely, you might be able to put your hand through it without being harmed. But I don't think I don't think I'm capable of doing that. And I do think that I would crush my hand if I smashed if I punched the wall. I think I'm going to hurt myself. Same as, if I jump from the top of a building, I'm going to smash the fuck out of my brains on the floor. So you still have to go by the rules of the simulation, whether it's a simulation or not. Okay. So what happened to me in the experience was coughing and spitting up a lot of judgment. I think I was screaming a lot, moving a fair bit, not getting up or anything, but twisting and turning. A lot of a feeling that I really need to throw up, like throw up my own judgment most of all. Throw up the lack of self-love probably, and I had this massive amount of snot coming through my nose. I was like, and it was just coming out like a river of snot. You could literally not give me paper quick enough to get it all out of the way, and I was just spitting up saliva and stuff all the time. And my experience was the longest of all the ones we had on that weekend. It lasted somewhere between an hour and a half. That's when I sort of emerged, but I went on for hours afterwards with me half here, half there, right? So, whereas we also had the same afternoon an experience of 1 minute, very peaceful experience, 1 minute. The guy might have been in there for an eternity in the experience, but it just lasted 1 minute on the outside. And so what happened is I came close to accepting death. I didn't quite die in the experience, but I got to death's door and it was just light and it felt quite pleasant. And my breath was slowing down and getting weaker and weaker. And I sort of got to a point where I sort of knew, well, this is it, I'm going to die. And I sort of accepted that instead of battling it. But I didn't quite manage to let my breath go. It felt very real. And I didn't want to die. And yeah. So yeah, I think looking back on it, or looking on it now in the present, I feel that like the yin and the yang, if you want to accept the white, you need to accept the black. If you want to accept life, you need to accept death. You need to accept everything, and life and death is part of us, just to say, both of them are completely part of our existence. And if you want to accept yourself completely, which is to love yourself completely, you're going to have to accept completely what and who you are, and what, all of these things. And so I think and I only just realized this now, that I think it's essential to accept death in order to be able to love, because love is acceptance. If you don't accept everything, you don't have acceptance. And yeah, my acceptance is being put to the test, I can tell you, since then. Wow. That very night, the car battery was stolen, so I had to, that's always a pain. And then the bike stopped working, so I had to leave that at the garage. And then some money from the business went missing, so we have that problem. And then somebody that I'm really fond of, I contacted her and she just sent me this rather very short and cold message. I know that I mustn't take personally. Like, I don't think we should never take anything personally, and that's really hard to apply. But I'm fairly, I know in words that that's true. I haven't felt it in my body yet, so I don't know it yet. You only know what you feel. And yeah, so I felt after, in the days following this experience, I felt massive amounts of unconditional love for, people, including total strangers. Uh, you know, and great feeling. And yeah, you know that you have that in you. That's who we really are, and we just forget it. And so it's our job to remind ourselves of that. But we need to start, I think, with ourselves. Really, it's important. You cannot, I think I'm going to have to make a habit of, you know, put a piece of tape on the mirror and make sure I go in front of that mirror every fucking day. And it says, I love you, yeah. I love myself. And hug yourself. I did that in the experience and I did that afterwards. Hug yourself because you deserve to treat yourself probably better than you are doing. And certainly for me, that's true. So anyway, there you go. This is long enough. If you have any questions, if you want to do Toad or whatever, Bufo Alvarius, you want to do ayahuasca, you've got doubts, you've got worries, you've got fears, send me a question. Don't worry. If I don't have the answer, I'll tell you. I'm not going to pretend I know I've got the answers if I don't feel that I have. But I have been able to help a few people with that. I've received some excellent questions, and maybe I can help you too. I don't know. Certainly, it's something that I feel ready to do now. Certainly with the Toad, I really feel ready to do that. I'm pretty convinced right now that you do not need a shaman for ayahuasca. That as the facilitator that I work with says, the real shaman is you, and it's you and the medicine, and that's it. And you do not need a shaman, and you don't need to do it in the jungle. It's good to get outside of your environment for various reasons, but it's not a necessity. The medicine is independent of that. It's you and the medicine. That's how I see it right now. Anyway, take care. Hope you're well.